Hello again. I just thought I'd finish off this topic by going through the noble gases and the halogens and a couple more things in a little bit more detail from that second PowerPoint. So, having a look at noble gases, just summarizing what we know about noble gases. They're colorless gases. They exist as single atoms. They don't pair up and go around like most gaseous atoms do. They're extremely unreactive, and they're unreactive because they have basically no ZF. ZF approaches zero because the number of protons in the nucleus have got an equal number of core electrons shielding them. So there's nothing very much going on over there. Let's have a look at alkali metals, a summary of alkali metals. As you know, you don't find a piece of sodium or whatever if you walk around outside. They're never found in nature because they are extremely reactive. They're very good conductors of electricity and heat because that single outer valence electron is very mobile, held in its metallic bonding. They form 1+ ions very readily by losing that electron. They have very low ionization energies because it's easy to form an ion. And when they react with water, they produce hydrogen and a hydroxide. So thinking of sodium, if you react it with water, it produces sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen. So the hydroxides that they produce are obviously an alkaline solution. And that's going to be important when we look at trends in oxide across a period, which we will do soon. So having a look at halogens in summary then, unlike the noble gases, halogens exist as diatomic molecules. They are coloured and they change throughout the group. They're the only group that does this, that goes from gas to liquid to solid. So bromine is the only one of two liquids on the periodic table, and iodine and astatine are solid at room temperature. The reactivity decreases down the group, unlike what we see with the alkali metals. The smallest atom attracts its electrons the most, in other words, the highest electron affinity. So that's why reactivity decreases down the group. They form ionic compounds, as you know, with other non-metals, especially group 1 halides. And they form insoluble salts with silver. At least most of them do. Silver fluoride is a soluble, but chlorine, bromine and iodine mixed with silver make insoluble salts. And the precipitates that they make are slightly different colour, although you'd be hard pressed to know sometimes, depending on the halogen. So you can use those colours as identification, with the chloride being white, the bromide being a kind of pale creamy colour, and the iodide being more yellowish, but it can be quite difficult to tell them apart. And when you expose those silver halides to sunlight, then they tend to go kind of greyish or purpley colour. And you may be aware that some of those silver salts are the origin of photographic papers. I don't know much about that, but some of you may know more about that sort of thing than I do. So that is halogens, or we can talk about displacement of halogens. So displacement reactions, if we have a competition for a single electron, you can say who's going to win by talking about who's more reactive. So if you've got potassium bromide solution and you pop chlorine in it, chlorine is further up the group, isn't it, than bromine. So it means that chlorine is more reactive than bromine, so the chlorine will capture the electron from the compound and it will chuck bromine out. So the colourless potassium bromide will turn into potassium chloride, which is and then it will release free bromine, which is yellow. Okay, and the same thing with iodide and bromine. So if we had potassium iodide and we introduce bromine, then the bromine will displace the iodine and it will become potassium bromide with iodine. So that's that, I think. So just a couple more things about those groups on the periodic table that you should be aware of. Thanks a lot. Bye.